We're here to explore key ideas from important sources, making complex stuff clearer for you. Today, we're diving into something really puzzling about health these days. I mean, think about it. We have amazing medical tech rec, more specialists than ever, huge amounts of money going into healthcare. But we're seeing chronic diseases just skyrocket, not just in adults, but in kids too, which is just heartbreaking. It's like this massive contradiction.
It really is astonishing. You'd think with all these resources we'd be getting healthier, but the trend seems to be going the other way for so many people. It forces you to ask that really basic question, why? Why are so many of us getting sicker when medicine seems so advanced? Feels like we're missing something big.
Exactly. And that's what this deep dive is all about. We're going to dig into a really fresh perspective, mostly from Dr. Calley Means and her book, Good Energy. The book's got this subtitle, The Surprising Connection Between Metabolism and Limitless Health. And her core idea is pretty radical, that all these chronic illnesses, the ones we treat as separate things, maybe they're not separate at all. Maybe they're like branches of the same tree, all coming from one deep root cause.
That's the heart of it, this idea that there's a fundamental physiological issue underneath it all. So today, we'll map out what that root cause might be, according to Dr. Means, and importantly, what you can actually do about it. Practical steps to, reclaim your health. We're pulling directly from her insights, her research, and even her own personal journey she shares in the book. It might make you see health and disease in a totally different light.
Okay, let's start with that health paradox and maybe make it real with the story Dr. Means shares right up front. It's about her own mother. Her mom struggled with her weight for years, and her doctor kind of brushed it off as, normal after having kids, getting older. That familiar story. Then, in her 40s, high blood pressure. Again, common, right? So she starts medication, an ACE inhibitor.
Sounds incredibly familiar, doesn't it? We hear these stories all the time. Things just sort of creep up. And what's really striking is her mom ends up seeing 5 specialists, taking 5 different meds for things like high cholesterol in her 50s, gets the statin, which the doctors called almost a rite of passage. But here's the thing, despite all this, her doctors kept saying she was healthy for her age, complimenting her even. And then at 71, boom, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and she passed away just 13 days later.
It's just devastating. And the really scary part, how statistically normal that whole picture is. The average American over 65 sees, 28 doctors, gets 14 prescriptions a year. It's staggering. So her mother's story isn't just one tragedy. It's like a spotlight on this huge blind spot in our medical system, a system that's really good at managing symptoms, but maybe not so good at preventing the underlying problem.
Exactly. It highlights this failure perfectly. We treat everything in isolation. High blood pressure, here's a pill. High cholesterol, another pill. We're not trained often to step back and ask, wait, could these things be connected? Is there something deeper going on systemically? It's like trying to fix a house fire by just putting out small flames in different rooms, never looking for the source.
And it's not just older adults anymore. That's the really alarming part. Dr. Means calls it a silent epidemic among young people. The numbers are just, wow. 18% of teenagers with fatty liver disease. Think about that. 18%. Nearly 30% are pre-diabetic. Over 40% overweight or obese. 50 years ago, pediatricians basically never saw this stuff. Now it's becoming common.
It really hammers home the point. This isn't just bad luck or kids making poor choices here and there. When you see obesity, acne that won't quit, constant tiredness, even depression and infertility becoming so widespread in young adults, it has to be something systemic. These aren't just normal growing pains. It's, as she says, highly dysfunctional biology that we're starting to accept as normal. It's a massive wake-up call.
Okay, so if it's systemic, what's actually happening inside our bodies? This is where Dr. Means introduces good energy and bad energy. Good energy, she says, is basically your cells having enough power to do their jobs, like everything they need to do, fueling your brain, building tissues, running your immune system, balancing hormones, keeping your heart going, all of it. It's the fundamental power source.
And bad energy is the flip side. It's when cells lose that ability. They can't make energy properly or they can't use it effectively. They're running on empty or they're damaged. And this creates what she calls a trickle-up problem. Little issues at the cellular level. They don't stay little. They start affecting tissues, then organs, then whole systems in your body, and that impacts everything. How you feel day to day, your mood, your focus, how you look, how you age, and definitely how well you fight off disease. Your engine is just sputtering.
So why now? Why is this happening so much? Dr. Means points to this concept of an evolutionary mismatch. Our bodies, our metabolism, our cells. They evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to work perfectly with a specific kind of environment, specific inputs.
Right. Our cells are basically running on ancient software, expecting certain conditions. But the world around us, especially in the last, say, 50 or 100 years, it's changed dramatically and incredibly fast, evolutionarily speaking. Our biology just hasn't caught up. We're talking about the modern diet, the explosion of sugar, refined flour, processed everything. Our lifestyle's sitting all day. We're chronically sleep deprived. Stress, it's constant, not like the short bursts our ancestors faced. And then there's the constant exposure to chemicals that just didn't exist for most of human history.
It's like we took this incredibly complex, finely tuned biological machine designed for one environment and threw it into a totally different, much harsher one. And we're surprised it's breaking down. This mismatch flips the switch from healthy metabolism to dysfunction, to bad energy. And when cells are struggling like that, they start sending out alarm signals, distress calls.
And those distress calls often show up as two major underlying problems: chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. These are kind of the twin pillars of bad energy. Now, chronic inflammation isn't like when you cut your finger and it gets red and puffy for a bit. That's acute inflammation. It's helpful, part of healing. This is different. It's a low-level, simmering fire throughout your body. Your immune system is constantly switched on, but in a way that ends up causing damage over time, collateral damage.
Like that patient Dr. Means mentions, Sophia, with the chronic sinus infections. She had surgery after surgery to clear things out, fix the symptoms, but nobody was asking why she had so much inflammation in the first place. Dr. Means points out doctors just weren't trained that way. It wasn't their job description to find the root cause of the inflammation. So the problem just kept coming back.
Exactly. And working alongside that chronic inflammation is oxidative stress. This happens when your cell's already struggling with damaged mitochondria and maybe bombarded by environmental junk, produce way too many damaging waste molecules. These are called free radicals. Dr. Means uses a great analogy. Think of a small, controlled amount of free radicals like a cozy campfire, normal, even necessary for some cell functions.
But when things get out of whack, when the systems is overloaded, that campfire turns into a raging, destructive forest fire. And this oxidative stress damages everything around it, including the mitochondria themselves. It creates this awful feedback loop.
That's the key. Mitochondrial dysfunction, inflammation, oxidative stress, they're all interconnected. They feed each other. Bad mitochondria lead to more inflammation and oxidative stress. That inflammation and oxidative stress then damage the mitochondria further. It's a vicious cycle. Understanding the cycle is absolutely critical because Dr. Means argues it's what's driving most of the chronic conditions we see.
Okay, that makes sense. But if it's all connected, why do doctors treat, say, heart disease and depression and acne as totally separate things?
That's the core challenge to the conventional model. Dr. Means calls this interconnectedness the metabolic spectrum of disease. Her big insight is that things we compartmentalize, depression, anxiety, infertility, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, even cancer, aren't really separate silos. They might look different on the surface, but deep down, she argues, they often share that same root: cellular malfunction driven by bad energy. We're just treating the symptoms the different ways it shows up.
And this is where it gets really personal for a lot of us listening. Maybe you're dealing with things you think are minor. Always tired, that annoying brain fog, maybe some anxiety, chronic aches and pains. Dr. Means is really passionate about this. She says these are not minor. They're invitations to become curious. They're early warning signs from your cells. If you ignore them, if they're just dismissed as normal, the underlying metabolic dysfunction is likely brewing, and it's probably going to lead to more serious diagnoses later on. That's the tragedy missing these early signals.
And she uses her own life story, her own body, as a powerful case study to show how this plays out over time, how seemingly unrelated things were actually connected all along.
Yeah, it started right from birth, apparently. She was a huge baby, 11 pounds, 9 ounces. She explains this is often a sign of maternal energy dysfunction, probably undiagnosed gestational diabetes in her mom. So the metabolic stage was kind of set for both of them right from the very beginning, even before she was born.
Then, as a toddler, chronic ear infections, tonsillitis, lots of antibiotics. She connects this directly to a compromised immune system, likely stemming from gut dysbiosis and imbalance in gut bacteria. Being born via C-section, formula-fed, eating processed foods, plus all those antibiotics. She says her gut health was probably a disaster. And that just feeds into poor metabolic health, cravings, a weakened immune system. It's all linked.
By 10 years old, she weighed 210 pounds. And as a teenager, it continued. Anxiety, painful periods, bad acne, headaches, more tonsil infections. And everyone just said, oh, that's normal teenage stuff. But looking back, she sees it as clear signs of highly dysfunctional biology.
Mm-hmm.
The hopeful part is around 14, she started cooking healthy food and exercising, and her symptoms improved dramatically. She likely reversed a lot of that insulin resistance and inflammation, at least temporarily.
But then came surgical residency. And the intense stress, the terrible sleep schedule, the hospital cafeteria food, it all came rushing back. The bad energy symptoms flared up almost immediately.
She developed IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic, painful diarrhea for 2 years straight, and she explains the link. IBS is strongly tied to insulin resistance, struggling mitochondria in the gut cells, a leaky gut lining. People with IBS are actually twice as likely to have metabolic syndrome. It's not just a gut problem.
And her depression during that time, also linked to bad energy. If your mitochondria aren't working well in your brain, it affects everything. Plus, get this, over 90% of your serotonin, the happy chemical, is made in your gut. So if your gut is a mess because of bad energy and IBS, it's going to hit your mood hard. That gut-brain connection is powerful.
Even her chronic neck pain as a surgeon. She thought it was just from hunching over patients, but she now connects it to the metabolic chaos. Poor mitochondrial function, insulin resistance, oxidative stress, inflammation. These can directly damage nerves, muscles, joints. The physical strain was just amplified by the internal problems.
And remember Sophia, the sinusitis patient. Dr. Means saw the same pattern there, and in her own recurring sinus issues and migraines during residency. There's research showing higher blood sugar increases sinusitis risk significantly, especially with type 2 diabetes. What blew Dr. Means away was finding studies showing the same inflammatory markers in sinus tissue as you see in heart disease or obesity. It wasn't a coincidence. It was the same fundamental problem, just showing up differently.
It really makes you rethink disease categories. And this bad energy connection goes way beyond her story. It touches almost everything, like hearing loss. You wouldn't think, right? But she points to studies. People with higher fasting glucose had significantly more high-frequency hearing loss, almost double the rate even before they were diagnosed diabetic. Insulin resistance is linked to hearing impairment.
Or autoimmune conditions, things like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, MS, where the body attacks itself. There's a strong metabolic link emerging. People with autoimmune diseases are 1.5 to 2.5 times more likely to have insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome. The thinking is those struggling cells send out constant danger signals, and sometimes the immune system gets confused and starts attacking healthy tissue, that chronic inflammation connection again.
And infertility. This is a huge one today. PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, is the leading cause, and it's fundamentally driven by high insulin. The insulin tells the ovaries to make too much testosterone, messing up the whole hormonal balance. The link is so strong, an NIH panel actually suggested renaming it metabolic reproductive syndrome. Tells you everything.
Absolutely. And look at gestational diabetes rates are up 30% just since 2016. Miscarriage, tragically, can also be linked. Metabolic dysfunction can be toxic to the placenta. The more signs of metabolic syndrome a woman has, the higher her risk of placental problems and fetal loss. It's a stark connection. It suggests our modern diet and lifestyle through this bad energy mechanism might actually be contributing to declining fertility rates.
What about just feeling exhausted all the time? Chronic fatigue. It's the top reason people go to the doctor now, affecting maybe 10–30% of us.
Dr. Means links it directly to bad energy. Cells not making enough ATP energy, unstable blood sugar causing crashes, hormonal imbalances, and it becomes a vicious cycle, right? Poor sleep makes mitochondria worse, which makes you more tired, which makes it harder to sleep well.
And it's terrifying when you look at kids. Obesity rates tripled since the 70s, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, used to be super rare in kids, now up to 20% of all kids have it, 80% of obese kids. This is the kind of liver damage doctors used to only see in severe adult alcoholics. Now it's full-blown metabolic dysfunction in kids, as she says. Just staggering.
It really is. And the links go further. Developmental conditions like autism and ADHD. A mother entering pregnancy with obesity and diabetes has a 4 times higher risk of having a child with autism, double the risk for ADHD. The developing brain needs so much energy, it's incredibly vulnerable to metabolic disruption.
Even recurrent infections in kids, strep throat, ear infections.
Kids with metabolic issues are more likely to get these infections. Obese kids have 1.5 times the odds of strep throat, for example, and then the antibiotics used to treat them can damage the gut microbiome, which can worsen the bad energy cycle. It's tough.
Then dementia. We're seeing more early onset dementia. The brain is the biggest energy hog in the body.
So when glucose uptake is impaired because of insulin resistance, brain cells can literally start to starve. Their mitochondria struggle. This leads to hypometabolism, low energy production in the brain, which is a key factor in Alzheimer's. It's increasingly seen as a metabolic disease.
And number one killer, heart disease, directly rooted in bad energy.
Yeah, even way back in the Framingham Heart Study, they saw diabetes was a major risk factor. High blood sugar causes oxidative stress, inflammation, damages blood vessels, leads to plaque buildup, atherosclerosis. It's all driven by those core bad energy processes.
Even arthritis. Seems totally unrelated, right? That chronic joint pain.
But new research shows it's often downstream of metabolic problems. People with osteoarthritis have 3 times the risk of heart disease, over 60% higher risk of type 2 diabetes. It just reinforces this idea. These aren't separate diseases attacking us randomly. They're different expressions of the same underlying problem.
Wow, okay. So seeing this interconnectedness, this metabolic spectrum, really shifts things. And it leads right into Dr. Means' critique of the medical system itself. She had this big realization during her residency. She saw all this money being spent, all these advanced procedures, but patients weren't truly getting better. They were being managed, maybe, but not healed. That's what made her leave surgery, just months before finishing. She needed to figure out why people get sick in the first place.
It was a huge turning point. Think back to Sophia, the sinus patient. Surgery helped her symptoms temporarily, but the inflammation, the root cause, untouched. Dr. Means is blunt. Surgeons weren't taught about the causes of inflammation. The whole approach is downstream. Fix the immediate problem, manage the symptom, not prevent it or reverse the cause.
And this starts right in medical school. It's shocking, but she says 80% of med schools still don't require a single nutrition class. 80%.
That lack of training fosters this fragmented view. You have specialists for every organ, but nobody's really looking at the whole metabolic picture, how everything connects.
And she argues the system itself has these, well, perverse incentives. She talks about the fear machine.
Yeah, the idea that the fear of dying is used, maybe unintentionally sometimes, to push interventions. Take this pill, get this surgery, or else. It creates this momentum towards more tests, more drugs, more procedures, more specialists.
Her mother's final days really illustrate this tragically. Her mom wanted comfort care, wanted to be at home, but the system kept pushing for invasive, expensive procedures that wouldn't have helped her live longer or better, procedures that would have generated huge hospital bills. It felt like it was more about the system's needs, the protocols, the billing codes, than about her mother's actual wishes or well-being.
It's chilling, and her surgeon friend's comment really nails it. If you walk into surgical oncology, you're getting an operation, whether you need it or not. It reveals a system that's incentivized towards doing more, towards intervention, often tied to financial gain, rather than prioritizing prevention or true healing.
And this isn't new. She traces it back historically. Dr. William Halsted at Johns Hopkins in the early 1900s, founder of surgical residency. He championed really aggressive surgery, this idea of the heroic interventionist doctor.
And critically, John D. Rockefeller, seeing the potential for pharmaceuticals from oil byproducts, heavily funded medical schools to adopt this model. The Flexner Report in 1910 cemented this focus on drugs and surgery while actively pushing out and discrediting nutritional and holistic approaches. It's a system built, as Dr. Means notes, on a somewhat problematic foundation, especially given Halsted's own struggles with addiction.
So the biggest lie in healthcare, she argues, is the silence. Medical leaders are just not talking about what's really making us sick. Our food, our lifestyle.
Right, they're not calling out the food companies advertising junk food to kids, or the fact that the American Diabetes Association takes money from soda companies.
Or pediatricians calling obesity a brain disease and pushing surgery instead of tackling sugar.
Or the USDA ignoring its own scientists on sugar recommendations and putting processed Lunchables in schools.
It's a deafening silence. Dr. Means calls it a devil's bargain between the massive food industry making addictive products and the healthcare industry profiting from the sickness that follows. Patients are caught in the middle.
But here's the turn. Despite this bleak picture of the system, Dr. Means offers a really powerful message of empowerment. The power to change things, she insists, lies with you, the individual.
Yeah.
We're moving into an era where technology allows you to actually observe your own biology.
Yeah, like that analogy from Josh Clemente at Levels. Rockets have thousands of sensors to predict failure before it happens. But with humans, we wait for total system breakdown symptoms before we even test anything. It's backwards. Dr. Means' core message is, don't blindly trust anyone, not even her. Trust your own body. Learn to listen to it. And these new tools, this bioobservability, they let your body speak directly to you through data, giving you certainty, clarity.
So let's talk specifics. What can you actually measure? Even standard blood tests hold clues if you know how to look. Triglycerides, for instance. Normal is usually under 150 milli-GDL. Dr. Means calls that a travesty. Optimal, she argues, is under 80. Research shows significantly lower heart event risk below 81.
Same with fasting glucose. Normal, under 100, another travesty. Optimal is more like 70, 85. Even 90 is questionable, according to experts like Dr. Lustig. These normal ranges are often missing problems that have been brewing for years.
And then there's the triglyceride to HDL ratio. This one isn't usually calculated for you, but it's incredibly insightful about insulin sensitivity. You want that ratio ideally below 1.5, even below 1. Anything over 3 strongly suggests insulin resistance. It's a simple calculation from your lipid panel results, but gives you a vital early warning.
Okay, beyond the standard stuff, she highlights 6 other tests that are often missed, but really critical. Top of the list. Fasting insulin. It's cheap, simple, but rarely ordered. Why? It's baffling. Because high insulin, or insulin resistance, shows up years, even a decade or more, before your blood sugar goes out of range. We're missing this huge window for prevention.
Optimal is really low, like 2 to 5 MIUL. Over 10 is definitely a flag. Then there's HRA-IR, another insulin resistance measure, ideally below 2.0. High sensitivity CRP, HSCRP. For inflammation, you want that under 0.3 milli-GDL. Hemoglobin A1C, HbA1c gives you that 2-3 month average blood sugar picture. Aiming for 5.0 to 5.4% is a good target for optimal health.
Uric acid, not just for gout. It's linked to diabetes, kidney disease, even depression. Optimal under 5 milli-DL for men, 2 to 4 for women. Liver enzymes, AST, ALT, GGT. Your liver is central command for metabolism. Fatty liver affects half of you as adults now. That tells you how stressed our livers are. Keep those enzymes in the optimal lower range. And vitamin D is crucial for insulin sensitivity and immune function. LDL cholesterol needs context. Look at it alongside that tri-HDL ratio.
But lab tests are just snapshots. The real game changer, Dr. Means believes, is real-time data, tools you can use every day. And top of that list is continuous glucose monitoring, or CGM. She calls it the most powerful technology for fixing this bad energy crisis.
It's amazing tech. A little sensor on your arm sends glucose readings to your phone like every few minutes, all day, all night. Instead of one blood draw a year, you get tens of thousands of data points. You see exactly how your body reacts to that slice of pizza or that apple or that stressful meeting. Big spike. That food likely had too much refined stuff, stressing your cells. It's personalized biofeedback.
Sleep tracking is just as vital. Quantity matters. Aim for 7-8 hours. Less than 6.5 hours consistently can mess with your insulin, even if you're healthy. More than 8 isn't necessarily better either. Quality is key too. Uninterrupted sleep. Poor quality sleep is linked to diabetes, obesity, Alzheimer's.
And consistency.
Yeah.
That social jet lag. She talks about big difference between weekday and weekend sleep times. That alone doubles your risk for metabolic problems. Those weekend lie-ins might be hurting more than helping metabolically.
Activity tracking too. Step count is a good starting point. 10,000 steps a day linked to way lower dementia and diabetes risk. But here's the kicker. Frequency often beats intensity. Short bursts of movement throughout the day, just a few minutes every half hour, do more for controlling blood sugar after meals than one long, hard workout.
Right, that water analogy again. Sit movement all day. Don't chug it once.
Yay.
Every time you get up and move, you're helping your cells clear glucose.
And finally, heart rate variability, or HRV. It measures your nervous system's balance, your stress resilience. Low HRV often means chronic stress, which impacts everything. Using these tools gives you concrete data, helps you connect your choices to how your body's actually functioning, puts you in the driver's seat.
Okay, so we know the problem, bad energy, and we have tools to measure it. Now, the solutions. Pillar number 1, food. And Dr. Means has a revolutionary way of thinking about it. Food isn't just calories, it's information.
Exactly. Principle 1. Food builds you. Literally. It determines the structure and function of your cells and your microbiome. Think about your cell membranes. They're mostly fat. Omega-3 fats make them flexible, anti-inflammatory. Omega-6s, which are everywhere in processed foods, make them stiff and inflammatory. Our modern ratio is way off, maybe 20.1 omega-6 to omega-3 when it should be closer to 1.1. But the good news, cell membranes turn over fast. Change your fats, you change your cells relatively quickly.
And food shapes your gut bacteria, your microbiome. Those trillions of microbes are like a whole other organ influencing metabolism, mood, everything.
Feed them junk, you get poor health outcomes. Feed them fiber, polyphenols, fermented foods, you get health. It's like cultivating a garden inside you.
Principle 2 follows from that. Eating is about matching what your cells need with what you put in your mouth. Food is molecular information.
Whole, unprocessed foods grown in healthy soil, that's the best match. They contain the complex information your cells evolved to expect. And needs change. Like women are more insulin resistant in the second half of their cycle. They might need more antioxidants, fewer high-sugar foods, then it's dynamic.
So specific foods send specific messages.
Absolutely. Omega-3s tell cells you're safe. Cruciferous veggies say boost defenses. Fiber tells your microbiome, I love you. It's a conversation.
Okay, Principle 4 challenges a big misconception, those intense food cravings. Not just lack of willpower.
Right. Dr. Means argues it's often feedback that you're sending mixed signals, especially with processed foods. Take liquid fructose, like high fructose corn syrup. It hits your system fast, depletes cellular energy, ATP, and paradoxically makes your cells think they're starving. So you get intense hunger signals, cravings, and your body goes into fat storage mode. It's like telling your cells, famine is coming, eat everything and store it. The food industry knows how to trigger this. It's weaponized food science.
So Principle 5 says, forget the diet wars, vegan, keto, whatever. Focus on unprocessed.
Exactly. The goal is optimal cell function. Different whole food approaches can achieve that if they provide the right information. Nutrient density and lack of processing are key, not the specific label.
Okay, this is super practical, the unholy trinity. 3 things Dr. Means says to just cut out completely. She argues this alone will transform your health.
Number 1, refined added sugar. She calls it an addictive, dangerous drug. It's in almost 3/4 of packaged foods. We need 0 grams of it. High fructose corn syrup is especially bad, totally new to human biology. One soda can have more sugar than people ate in a year 150 years ago. And basically, no liquid calories, juice, soda, sweetened coffees. Water, black coffee, unsweetened tea are okay. Alcohol also messes with blood sugar.
Number 2, refined industrial vegetable and seed oils, canola, corn, soybeans, sunflower, etc.
They're loaded with omega-6s, throwing that crucial ratio way off, driving inflammation. Soybean oil is now the biggest calorie source for many Americans. Consumption is up 1,000x since 1909. And they're heavily processed with chemicals and heat, unlike simple pressed oils like olive or avocado.
And number 3, refined grains, white bread, white rice, regular pasta.
Refining strips the bran and germ, removes the fiber, the nutrients, the healthy fats. You're left with just starch. It gives a longer shelf life, maybe a softer texture, but you lose the good stuff. Often they enrich it with synthetic vitamins that aren't the same. It can also contribute to leaky gut.
Which leads to the ultimate bad guys. Ultra-processed foods, the frankenfoods.
Yeah, factory creations using extracted food parts, additives, colors, preservatives, stuff made in labs, not kitchens. Dr. Means is emphatic. These should be 0% of your diet. Studies link high intake to a massive increase in death risk. Think candy, sugary cereals, processed meats, packaged snacks, most fast food.
And the additives themselves. Potassium bromate is carcinogenic. Red 40 linked to behavioral issues in kids. Titanium dioxide, BVO. Stuff banned in other countries is common here. They directly damage cells.
So cutting out that unholy trinity added sugar, bad oils, refined grains is the biggest first step towards good energy.
So what do we eat? What makes a good energy meal?
Focus on whole, real foods. Organic, regeneratively grown if possible. Minimally processed, lots of colorful fruits and vegetables. Nuts, seeds, beans, legumes. If you eat animal products, pasture-raised, organic, 100% grass-fed meat and poultry. Eggs from pasture-raised hens. Organ meats are nutritional powerhouses. Wild-caught, small, oily fish for those omega-3s. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, anchovies.
Herbs, spices, they're full of compounds. Healthy condiments like vinegar, mustard.
Fermented foods. Sauerkraut, kimchi, plain yogurt, kefir for gut health. Filtered water is crucial too, to avoid chlorine and other contaminants. It's about maximizing nutrient density and minimizing toxins.
Let's break down why these are so good. Antioxidants and polyphenols and spices, cocoa, dark berries, veggies, they fight oxidative stress, that forest fire. Processing kills them.
Omega-3s, they tell your cells you're safe, reduce inflammation, keep arteries flexible. Found in fatty fish, chia, flax, walnuts, they balance out the bad omega-6s.
Fiber, only from plants. It feeds your good gut bacteria, which then make short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs.
SCFAs are amazing. They regulate metabolism, improve blood sugar control, manage hunger, heal the gut lining, prevent leaky gut. Fiber is non-negotiable for good energy.
Probiotic foods add more good bugs directly. Crucial for gut balance, immunity, even mental health.
And micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, they're essential for making ATP energy and for your antioxidant systems. CoQ10 for egg health and fertility is just one example of how powerful they are.
And those swaps for refined grains. Lots of options now. Nut coconut flour bread instead of white bread. jicama or seaweed wraps for tortillas, cauliflower or broccoli rice, zucchini or chickpea pasta, cauliflower pizza crust, easy ways to upgrade.
Now, it's not just what you eat, but how. Dr. Means gives great strategies for managing blood sugar after meals, which means more stable energy.
First, don't eat naked carbs. Never eat carb-rich foods alone.
Right. Always pair fruit or bread or potatoes with protein, fat, or fiber. A handful of nuts with an apple, for example, slows down the sugar absorption dramatically.
Second, meal sequencing. Eat veggies, fat, and protein before the carbs in your meal.
So eat your salad or chicken before the pasta or rice. Avoid the breadbasket before the meal arrives. It really blunts the glucose spike.
And this one's huge. Walk for at least 15 minutes after eating.
Unbelievably high-yield habit can cut post-meal glucose spikes by up to 30%. Your muscles soak up the sugar. So simple, so effective.
Finally, eat mindfully, with gratitude. Slow down, put your fork down, no screens.
It sounds woo-woo, but it's linked to better metabolic health, lower A1C, lower metabolic syndrome risk. Being present actually changes your physiology.
Okay, food is huge. But there are other pillars of good energy. Chronobiology, light, and mealtime.
Yes, our bodies have internal clocks, synchronized by light and food. We're built for activity and eating in daylight, rest, and fasting at night.
But modern life messes that up completely. Late meals, blue light from screens at night, it causes mass cellular confusion. Our clocks are off.
And that desynchronization directly causes bad energy problems. Mitochondrial issues, oxidative stress, inflammation. Getting bright morning light, dimming lights at night that sets your master clock correctly. Eating late, especially during your body's natural fasting window, messes up metabolism. We're more insulin sensitive in the morning suggests eating earlier is better.
Most Americans eat erratically, often for 15+ hours a day, always in the fed state.
Which leads to metabolic inflexibility. Your body forgets how to burn fat efficiently. You get hangry. Time-restricted feeding, eating within a consistent earlier window, helps restore that flexibility.
Then movement. We sit way too much. Sitting is the monster.
Even lots of exercise doesn't undo hours of sitting. Our bodies need frequent movement. Muscle contraction is medicine. Even gentle movement clears glucose, boosts insulin sensitivity, builds mitochondria, fights inflammation. But remember, SIP movement all day.
Zone 2 cardio, brisk walk, light jog, is great for mitochondrial health. Resistance training is crucial to build and keep muscle, which we lose as we age. Low muscle mass is a major health risk.
Temperature, controlled discomfort is good. We live in thermoneutrality, always 72 degrees. Our mitochondria get bored.
Sauna use is linked to better heart health, lower dementia risk. Heat stress is beneficial.
And cold exposure activates brown fat, which burns energy for heat. More brown fat is linked to lower BMI, better glucose control. Sleeping cool, around 66 degrees Safa, boosts brown fat and insulin sensitivity. Cold showers, cold plunges, they stimulate adaptation.
Finally, environmental toxins. We're swimming in an invisible chemical soup.
80,000 synthetic chemicals. Many are obesogens. They directly disrupt metabolism and promote fat storage. Think of eating Cheerios. Bad energy from the refined grain, the sugar, the pesticides on the grain, and the chemicals from the plastic box liner. Quadruple hit.
BPA in plastics, phthalates in cosmetics, parabens, PFAS, forever chemicals in cookware, pesticides, they're everywhere. They disrupt hormones, damage mitochondria.
So, filter your air and water. Eat organic regenerative to avoid pesticides. Ditch plastic food containers. Use clean personal care and cleaning products. Vinegar works wonders. Support your body's natural detox. Minimize the chemical load.
The last pillar, often forgotten, is mindset. Healing. Chronic fear is metabolically toxic.
We evolved to handle short-term threats. Now we're bombarded 24/7 with global crises, social media stress. It's constant overwhelm. Mental health stats are dire. Nearly 40% of U.S. women report depression. Over half of teen girls feel persistently sad or hopeless, and people cope with dopamine-fueled distraction, sugar, alcohol, endless scrolling, gaming, avoiding being present.
And that chronic fear state, it tells your cells danger is constant. They shift from growth and repair to defense mode. Good energy gets dimmed.
Psychological stress directly causes bad energy hallmarks. Inflammation, especially neuroinflammation, oxidative stress, and mitochondrial dysfunction. The mind and body are inseparable.
So healing means finding ways to feel safe on a cellular level.
Therapy or coaching is key. A brain coach. Track your HRV to understand your stress response. Practice breathwork, box breathing instantly calms the nervous system. Mindfulness meditation, even short sessions, change metabolic markers and gene expression. Movement-based mindfulness like yoga or Tai Chi lowers cortisol, reduces inflammation.
Spend time in nature. Nature pills, lower stress hormones. Nature teaches us rhythms, cycles.
Journaling helps process emotions. A digital detox, less screen time, improves mental health significantly.
She even discusses psilocybin therapy's potential for neuroplasticity, creating feelings of awe and cosmic safety, helping release deep-seated fear. It's about calming the nervous system so cells can thrive.
So pulling it all together, Dr. Means sees practicing these good energy habits as more than just self-care. It's an act of rebellion.
Yeah, rebellion against a system that profits from sickness.
And it's not about perfection. It's about consistently tipping the scales towards health, minimizing the bad stuff, unholy trinity, toxins, and maximizing the good sleep, movement, whole foods, stress resilience.
It's personalized, too. Assess where you are with each habit. Are you just aware you should do it? Level 2. Or doing it consciously, but with effort, level 3. Aim to make these habits automatic, effortless, level 4.
So how do you start now? Take a baseline quiz. Start a detailed food journal every single bite, time, brand. Get wearable tech track sleep, steps, HRV, maybe even a CGM for glucose insights. Find an accountability partner.
She lays out a 4-week plan. Week 1. Baseline, find your why, set up tracking, get accountability.
Week 2, the big one, eliminate the unholy trinity for 3 solid rents. No added sugar, bad oils, refined grains, get them out of the house. This alone is huge.
Weeks 3 and 4, add 3 more good energy habits. Pick from the pillars, more fiber, probiotics, omega-3s, better meal timing, more movement, temperature stress, less toxins, stress management. Integrate them consistently, build momentum.
Look, the modern medical system, as Dr. Means outlines, has often failed us when it comes to preventing and reversing chronic disease. But the power isn't solely in the system.
The greatest act of rebellion, maybe, is choosing well-being yourself.
Knowing disease isn't just random bad luck, but often the result of cumulative choices leading to bad energy. How will you use that knowledge? How will you change your relationship with your body, your food, your environment, maybe even how you see life itself?